my father, who was a bureaucrat, had become a secretary. In 1980, when Indira Gandhi was re-elected, he was the first secretary that she removed. I had no active desire to join politics at all. I mean, to me, as I said, it came as a complete surprise that the Prime Minister could even consider me. People who claim to be internationalists suddenly become super nationalist. You know, beware of such people. And I ask people, if we were being accommodative, who sent the Indian army to the LAC? Rahul Gandhi didn't send them. Narendra Modi sent them. China is an exception. And it is an exception. And please notice, I said China, China. There is a phrase, war by other means. There is also, think of it, this is politics by another means. You think the timing is accidental. I mean, let me tell you one thing. I don't know if election season has started in India and Delhi or not, but for sure it has started in London and New York. Politics of India doesn't stop at its borders. Sometimes politics of India doesn't even originate in its borders. It comes from outside. Why suddenly, there's a surge of reports and, attention and views. I mean, were some of these things not happening earlier? You had to make a documentary. Many things happened in Delhi in 1984. Why didn't we see a documentary on that?
Namaste, Jai Hind. Welcome to another edition of ANI Podcast with Smita Prakash. Today, my guest is India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar. An illustrious career of 38 years as diplomat, Dr. Jaishankar was India's ambassador in China, the Czech Republic, USA, Singapore, and then finally, Foreign Secretary. He was picked up by Prime Minister Modi to be part of his cabinet in 2019 as External Affairs Minister. The articulate Dr. Jaishankar is my guest today. Dr. Jaishankar, thank you so much for coming to the podcast. Every podcast that I've done, the comment section is filled with, when are you getting Dr. Jaishankar? When are you getting Dr. Jaishankar? So today I'm really
That's
happy.
That's me commenting.
Okay. I don't believe one word of that. So now I'm so glad and my team is thrilled that you're here with us today. And
Seriously, pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So I am going to get into the macro issues of policy matters and India's neighborhood and all in the second half of the podcast. Okay. The first half is basically a curation of all that I've been seeing on the comments section where people said, please ask Dr. Jaishankar this. So the question which most people had was that how did the transition take place from, being a bureaucrat, a career diplomat, to becoming a politician, joining Mr. Modi's cabinet? Mm-hmm. How did you make that transition? What tools did you employ?
Well, I didn't make the transition. It happened. Mm-hmm. I mean, it happened because, as you know, I come from a bureaucratic family. We don't have anybody remotely in the family who's entered politics in any party at any time. It had not crossed my mind. I don't think it had crossed the mind of anybody else in my circle. And then, lo and behold, what happened in May of 2019 happened. Now, once I entered, I must say, in all honesty, I myself was very unsure. I mean, I had watched politicians all my life. One of the things you get to do in the Foreign Service, by the way, is you actually, perhaps much more than other services, you see politicians up close because you see them abroad. You're kind of working with them closely. You're counseling them. So it's one thing to watch, but to actually join politics, to become a cabinet member, to stand for Rajya, because, when I was selected, I was not even a member of parliament. So each of this kind of happened one by one. I slid into it, sometimes without knowing it. You learnt by watching others. That's something, we say sometimes you go to any foreign environment, you kind of, you pick up by. So for me, this wasn't a foreign environment, but it was a different environment. So, you looked at others, more senior people, more experienced people in the cabinet, in the party, in other parties. I mean, I even today, just say, watch me in parliament. I do follow a lot. I look very carefully at what people are doing, both in my own party and other parties. I think there's a lot to learn from everybody. So you get into it step by step. Sometimes you surprise yourself. there is a learning curve. I'd be honest with you out there. There are times when you are a bit hesitant or a bit